Eric, Cathy, I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. I'm your host, Eric Porvoznik, and we've got so much going on tonight. We're going to bring Jim right back in. Jim, my friend, how are you? And welcome back to the continental U.S.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Just got back from road tripping across Iceland and checking out jolly old England. Got myself a frosty new mug here.
Nice.
I'll say rested and ready, but not tanned because of where I was. But it was a good trip. So glad to be back.
As has been documented on here plenty of times, folks, Jim and I, we don't tan. We burn if we're lucky, and then peel, and then maybe tan. But anyhow,
nope, too much Irish blood, turn into lobsters instead.
Yes, and a very hearty, all over the place welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
And Marty, unfortunately, not going to be joining us tonight. A lot of family stuff going on. So a happy birthday to his grandson out there in California. And Marty will be back soon. However, we have with us, and I cannot say how excited team All Over the Place is. We had a guest on earlier this year. She was promoting her new single, Now You've Gone. Well, one of the things we talked about, one of the things we found out that we had in common was our love of the little backdrop you're seeing there, and we'll be seeing on the YouTube as our screenshot. We found out we have a shared love of the original Police Squad and the Naked Gun. And with the new Naked Gun coming out this weekend, the Seth McFarland produced and written and starring Liam Neeson instead of Leslie Nielsen, we have back with us Cathy Rankin. Welcome back to All Over the Place.
Hi.
We managed to trick her into coming back to visit with us. And so hopefully we're going to be seeing a lot more of her and her wit and wisdom and knowledge of music and Naked Gun. So, Cathy, I mentioned in the intro, your initial visit, you were doing your single, Now You've Gone. And what's been going on since in the world of Cathy Rankin and with the band, the superhero band and beyond?
Oh, just lots of performing with Superhero, and then we're actually in the middle of recording the next song. So I hope to be releasing that this fall, which is sneaking up on us very quickly. But yes, we're in the middle of recording the next song. I'm very excited.
Excellent. Also, as mentioned at the top of the show, we had Naked Gun, the reboot, opening this weekend, and a lot of stuff going on with that. I want to talk about David Zucker and his initial reticence and kind of like giving things away there with initial reticence. But all three of us saw the movie, and just very quickly around the horn, let's go. We're going to start with you, Cathy, since you're our new team AOtP. What grade do you give the new Naked Gun? Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I wanted to like it. I really wanted to like it. I love Liam Neeson and I like Pam Anderson making this comeback in her career. I thought it was bad. And maybe I'm alone with this opinion. There was not a lot that made me laugh out loud. There's a couple moments, but to me, it just seemed like a very, I don't know where to begin. He's not Leslie Nielsen. And I thought I love Liam Neeson, and I get that they were trying to take a serious actor and make him comedic, which is what Leslie Nielsen, did. But I just don't think the casting was right. And the jokes to me just fell really flat. I don't know. I'm a fan of the original. I loved the original. It was so brilliant. And I did not think this stacked up to that.
Okay. Well, we'll dive a little bit more into the whys and the wherefores and whatnots as we progress. But Jim, your quick take on the new Naked Gun.
I'm going to give it a B. I would say I liked it, didn't love it. It made me chuckle more than I expected. There weren't a lot of laugh out loud moments, but there were some gags that definitely got a chuckle out of me. The actors kind of knew what they were doing, playing it deadpan. It didn't wear out its welcome. It was only an hour and a half, which is very welcome in the day and age where every single movie has to be 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It definitely had its flaws. I'm not a big Seth MacFarlane fan. So his style of comedy isn't always my thing. but it definitely hit more than it missed for me. Again, it wasn't perfect. Some of it was kind of awkward. And I'll get more into some of the flaws it had, but overall, I enjoyed it.
Okay, I'm going to go with the same grade as Jim. I'm going to give it a B. And again, I went in with low expectations, just knowing, like Cathy, like all of us, we love the original, and especially the original TV series. That's the tone. And I was, especially after seeing the first trailer for this, and it's like you're going with a joke that's not even in the style, like him coming in dressed as a little girl, and then all of a sudden he takes it off to reveal he's Drebin. And so I'm like, and then that joke very prominently in the movie as well. But other than that, low expectations. And our good friend Christian Toto gave it a pretty inviting review. So I went in, the expectations weren't as lowered as they were going to be. But like Jim, I chuckled a lot more than I thought I would. And they were just, when they peppered in the throwbacks, I enjoyed that. Whether it was the nice beaver at the party, I liked that. And again, maybe and the credits too. I love like the little jokes within there, especially their Netflix password in the credits. Unfortunately, I didn't write it down, so I still have to pay for my Netflix. And as you can see over my left shoulder here, Weird Al Yankovic. And that's right, Marty's not here to have us go through Weird Al Yankovic being mentioned on the show yet again. But I actually broke out the accordion. I talk about it a lot on this show, but there it is, the Gioletta. It's an authentic from 1956.
Wow.
That's my dad's. That I will eventually learn how to play. But no, I love the Weird Al. And again, Weird Al was in all three of the previous Naked Gun movies. So I'm glad that McFarland and the production team thought to bring him in. But I give it a B, and there were more often than I expected. I will go even so far as to say B+. But it seems I'm in the minority on this. But
I'm shocked.
Yeah, but because McFarland to me is hit or miss with it, and it's more often miss than not. Although Ted, start to finish, I laugh my ass. I just see Ted 3 times to get every joke. But McFarland, he gets a little too crass for me at times, and not in a puritanical way. It's just that he's trying too hard, I think. And this one, I think, well, like Cathy mentioned, there were points where he was trying too hard, but he had enough reverence for the original that it tempered some of that trying. But that I like this. We've got a little. We don't have it enough on this show. Differing opinions. So, but Cathy did dig a little bit more into why you didn't. You were one step shy of giving it, and we're going to go back to Hollywood Shuffle, giving it the finger.
I thought it sucked, you guys. I'm going to be honest.
Okay. All right.
And what's funny is I actually like Seth MacFarlane. I thought it was a total miss. And, the only thing I could think about is when I went to see the original movie, my sister and I went, and from the opening credit, we were in hysterics to the point where, every scene we were laughing out loud, to the point where we were annoying so many people, we were about to get kicked out of the theater. That's how much we were laughing. And this one, and I took John with me. John and I went, and there was almost nothing that we found really super funny. When I go back and watch the old movies and I watch, the original Police Squads, I went back and watched some of the highlights of the original Police Squad. They were so brilliantly written and they were so brilliantly acted. And I just think, for me personally, Liam Neeson didn't have it didn't have the charm of the original music or movie. And Leslie Nielsen, what was so brilliant about it, you mentioned trying too hard. That is exactly the feeling I got, though. I felt the entire movie they were trying way too hard, and I just didn't think it was a natural fit with Liam Neeson being that main character. I worked with Leslie Nielsen, and he just had a dry wit about him. When he played the straight guy, he came across as truly dumb, but so lovable. And I don't know how to articulate it, but I just didn't feel this captured that. at all. I feel like this movie, they were literally just trying to take what worked in the first movie and make it modern. And to me, that just doesn't work. You know, and I fear that maybe this generation's humor has been so dumbed down that people think that I'm being really harsh now, I know, but I feel like people laugh at stuff that's not really brilliant comedy because we've just been so dumbed down. I don't know. I think when you look at the original jokes and the setups and the timing and those characters that were played in the original Police Squads and the original movie, it doesn't even compare in my mind. So I am a hard no.
Well, and I think that's part of McFarland's problem because, and this is a reason why I don't watch Family Guy that much, or by and large, I don't like his style of humor, is that he just takes this one little snippet and says, "Ha ha! I'm ripping on this, and you should think it's funny because I think it's clever that I've seen a joke that you may not have seen."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we should be happy that unlike so many movies, not just Mike Myers and the Austin Powers, we didn't have somebody saying the joke to us like Alan Parsons Project got the song and saying, or falling down, jumping back up. I'm okay. We didn't have that. We weren't beaten over the head that much with the lack of subtlety. But yeah, I see where you're coming from with McFarland. But I don't know.
I just don't know why they didn't. I mean, I feel like this concept would have worked if it would have been David Zucker doing it.
And he still knows how to do it, I think.
And there's an art to that. I mean, comedy is very tough, and there's an art to it. And I just think that they needed somebody who really knew the old school way to do that kind of comedy. I don't know. It just none of it hit for me. It just didn't land.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you that it did not live up to the original. But I don't. Yeah, I don't think it really tried to, because you can't make a Naked Gun movie in that style, or any movie in that style of comedy, without the Zucker and Abrams guys. You just can't. I mean, Leslie Nielsen obviously was key also, but I mean, they were able to make good movies with Val Kilmer and other actors, but they really were the key to that style of comedy. Yeah. And so I don't think that these guys really tried to do that exactly. They weren't trying to ape that exactly. I mean, they did it to some degree by having the hero be deadpan and things like that. But, and it wasn't just Seth MacFarlane, actually. It was also made by the Lonely Island guys who did some really funny comedy shorts back in the early 2000s. But their humor is really more just kind of surreal and goofy. And I feel like they tried to, because they couldn't do what Zucker and Abrams did. They tried to kind of do things their own way. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of that kind of comedy. I mean, if the CIA ever wanted to interrogate me, they could just strap me into the Clockwork Orange chair and put on Family Guy for a couple hours and I would crack. I guarantee it. But
you'll sing like a canary.
I'm not a fan of that stuff, but
they were trying to see. I feel like they were trying to do it and they missed the mark, because they were trying to do the coffee joke and they did it's like they literally tried to take jokes from the old movie and the original series and just recreate them, but using different themes. I don't know. I didn't find it to be original, and it just didn't make me laugh. I mean, I laugh pretty easy. Mm-hmm. And it just didn't make me laugh. Like there was only a couple scenes that actually made me, where I was like, that's pretty funny. But the most of the movie, and there was a few people in the theater laughing, but there was a lot of time when it was just people didn't laugh at the jokes that you were supposed to laugh at.
Yeah, there were definitely parts where you could feel Seth MacFarlane's influence, like that whole part with the snowman.
Oh,
it was just like a Family Guy cutaway that went on and on.
Yeah, it was so dumb.
It wasn't funny. It was just weird.
It wasn't funny.
They just dragged it out. But I mean, a lot of the puns worked, and just some of the quick jokes worked. I mean, for me, the biggest thing is, I'm probably going to toot this horn more than once tonight, but it was a really strange looking movie in terms of the way it was filmed, the cinematography and everything. It was really dark lighting, not a lot of colors, constant close-ups of the characters, which I think is a huge miscalculation. There's a saying in Hollywood that tragedy is a close-up and comedy is a long shot or wide shot. And I think that's the way it works best. But they just had like every shot of Liam Neeson was like this close-up of his face, or Pamela Anderson's face. And so they were just delivering every joke like this. And it was just like,
that's interesting.
You could see everything on, every flaw in their face. And it's just like, this is uncomfortable. It's not funny this way. But you needed that cinematography where the characters are reacting to each other. The physical comedy, they're playing off each other, and with all the close-ups, you didn't see that. So I think it cut a lot of the jokes short of how well delivered they could have been.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
But that is the genius of the Zucker universe. And like, you even think of the opening of the original show, and I forgot how much. 30 to 45 seconds, the guy in flames running into the frame and then just tumbling over, or Ed or Al just doing stupid stuff. But and you lose that when you're in close up. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and some of the wider shots of like, I'm trying not to give away too many of the punchlines for people that haven't seen it, but there's a part where a car is crashed and it has to be moved back up, and there's a joke about that, and that was a wide shot with like reaction shots, and that joke I thought worked really well because the camera pulled back and showed everything and showed the reaction shots of everybody, and like that they had confidence in that joke, and so I feel like it worked better. So things like that. Obviously you can't just completely ape Zucker and Abrams, but they could have used some tips from that style that worked a little bit better. And I think one of them was cinematography, but nobody can be Leslie Nielsen. I think Liam Neeson was probably the best choice they could have gone with. Just because he knew how to be deadpan and not wink at the audience. He's actually older than about 10 years older than Leslie Nielsen was, even though he looks younger. So he's got kind of that Harrison Ford thing going on now where you can kind of see the age on him a little bit, where he's slowed down a little bit, but he still knew how to play the material right. Pamela Anderson, I mean, it's, of all the actresses that could get a comeback right now, it's kind of strange that she got picked, but she definitely is making the most of it, and she knew exactly what to do with this material to be kind of the femme fatale character. She pulled that off pretty well, aside from the part where she sings jazz. That was just cringy. But and again, another one with just goes on and on and on, and when something isn't funny and it gets dragged out, it just But like the supporting actors were all really good. A lot of tough guy actors in there, like Danny Houston, that just kind of knew exactly how to do their roles without too much of a wink at the audience, I enjoyed it. It wasn't, maybe our standards are just so low for comedy nowadays, but I had a good time. I got enough chuckles out of me. Certainly it is not on the level of any of the originals. Those are all three of the Naked Gun movies are A+s in my book. This was nowhere near that league, but just as a goofy comedy, it worked for me.
And I like Danny Houston in it. I thought, again, not a whole lot to work with, but I thought what he was given worked as a villain.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he did. I mean, it's, him and I think Kevin Durand was the other actor, the guy that played the henchman, this huge Canadian actor that always plays bad guys. And he got a few laughs too. But, so they didn't really pick people that were comedians. They picked people that were just good at playing this type. And they played the material fairly straight. And I feel like that's the only way you could make this work. And so I feel like they got the right actors for it. It was a bunch of comedians that were just riffing, like a Judd Apatow movie. It wouldn't work. The tone would completely fall apart. And to the degree that it held together for an hour and a half, it did because they kept that tone going.
And I'm glad you brought up Judd Apatow, because and the two of you are kind of talking me down to this, maybe even a C plus instead of a B plus. But the comedy universe now, everyone, especially the Apatow movies and the Will Ferrell, they're in their little echo chamber, and they think it's hilarious, and they keep going with it, and we're subjected to pounding it over our heads with. And I used to subscribe to Letterman's method of any joke worth doing is worth overdoing. I don't think that's the case anymore, especially when people are in echo chambers and think they're funnier than they are.
I think the best actor probably was the guy that played the bad guy. To me, Liam Neeson felt awkward in this role. I didn't feel that, like, you can have a dramatic actor, but they have to have that comedic sense still. And I just didn't feel he did. I felt he was trying really hard, and it sucks because I really like him as an actor. Just don't think he was the right fit. But I feel like overall, I don't know why Hollywood is in this thing now where they just insist on remaking old stuff. It's like they can't come up with anything original. So they're trying to just go back and remake every great movie, every classic, iconic movie. And so many times I find that it just doesn't work. And it's like, I think that's where Hollywood's at. They just can't come up with great original ideas. And so they just keep trying to go back and milk the ones.
It's a brand that everyone knows, or enough people know. Yeah. But I can't, Jim, did we talk about this when Christian was here? It was just, or we talked about it on another occasion. But the original ideas are being done; they're being thrown onto the streamers. I think back to there was a great rom-com last year with Charlie Day, and I'm forgetting the name of the female lead. She has a lot of TV shows, but it was a great romantic comedy. But I think it was an Amazon Prime original. We talked about two movies recently here. The what's his name? John Cena is doing a lot of originals that go on Amazon Prime now, and they're funny, and it's not having to reboot or sequelize something. So less of a financial risk, although Hollywood's just trying to find footing in a world that they helped to create by, as Jim eloquently stated on one of our previous shows, they told us to not come back to theaters during COVID, and now they're scrambling to figure out a way to get us back into theaters.
Yeah. I mean, I give them I'm the one thing I'm positive about is I'm happy to see that they're trying to bring back this kind of comedy, because I think, like you said, I think people are really hungry for just silly, funny stuff, because so much of what we see now is just so overly serious, and it's got to have some big social message or some big political slant. And it's like people are tired of that. People want to go and just be entertained and forget their troubles for the day or for a couple of hours and see something fun. And I don't think we see enough of that. So I do give it props for that, maybe some people that didn't see the originals will go to this and think, oh, I kind of like this silly kind of comedy. I mean, if it does that, great. I just wish we could get something out there that is as brilliantly done as the originals, something that just makes me laugh out loud, to where I'm crying. That's what I want to see. And Austin Powers was another franchise that did that. I mean, I can go back and watch the Austin Powers movies over and over, and I still am in tears laughing so hard, through the whole movie. It's just, it doesn't let up. It's so funny the whole time. And I'm trying to think offhand, can you guys think of anything that's been that funny in recent years? I don't know.
I would say not from Hollywood. And to answer your question from earlier, you're saying, I don't know why they just keep remaking everything. And I mean, insiders have talked about this. Basically, the reason is that streaming came along and upended DVDs. Yeah. And so now Hollywood became so risk averse as a culture, as a work culture, that they refuse to do anything original. So they're terrified of it. So all they can do is just remake. And to be fair, a lot of the comedies that we grew up loving, Blazing Saddles and Airplane, those are all effectively remakes of things that came before them. So it isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just there's not enough creativity put into it, in my opinion. But yeah, as far as things that are actually funny, it's really nothing out of Hollywood for quite a while. I think the last really good Hollywood comedy was probably back in like 2018. It was the movie Tag. There were actually a couple of really good comedies that came out that year, but that was really the last year that was the last year they really made mainstream comedies. They got into this weird place where they just started shoehorning comedy into other genres like superhero movies, and then they started making these weird social justice comedies that everybody hated.
Yeah.
That nobody watched. And then it's just been like a comedy dark zone for almost 10 years. I will say
what was the one with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum? I thought that was, I watched that a good 3-4 times in the theater.
Which one was that?
I think it was The Lost City.
Lost City, yeah, with Channing Tatum.
That one. I didn't see that.
But again, that went to streaming. They didn't have to take the risk of putting it in theaters.
No, that was in theaters initially.
Was it? Oh, okay. I only saw it on streaming.
I was still working the theater, so I made sure whenever I got off work, I went and watched it again, just picked it apart and just. But again,
that was more of a comedy adventure movie. Like it was more of a romantic, it was more of a hybrid. It's not really
a straight up comedy. Yeah, I can't think of one that's American. There was one. It was a British one that it was about four guys trying to. They were trying to impose jihad, but they kept fumbling and things were blowing up their faces.
Four Lions, yeah.
Four Lions. There we go. Yes.
What was it called?
Four Lions.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Very, very dark comedy. Very dark. But that actually leads me to what I was going to say was the funniest things I've seen this year weren't from the States. They were from foreign countries. I went and saw there was a movie that just came out recently, an animated movie called K-pop Demon Hunters out of Korea. It's just about this pop group that hunts demons. But I mean, it's an animated family thing, but it was really, really funny because it was made in Korea. They didn't have all the shackles that Hollywood studios have now about like, oh, you can't make this joke, can't make that joke. Yeah. They just mined as much comedy as they could out of the absurd situation, and it was really funny. And when I was over in England, I went and saw a show on the London stage called The Comedy About Spies, which it was kind of a Cold War farce, but it was hilarious. My cheeks were hurting from laughing so hard at it. It was so good, but again, not something that would ever come out in Hollywood. And it's like Hollywood is like trying to slowly relearn how to do comedy after all these years of just shunting it off to the side and just saying, okay, let's just have this superhero be funny, instead of actually making a comedy.
Great point. I think that as we're trying to find footing, we're looking at I think comedians like Bert Kreischer and Adam Reif. Comedians are starting to allow to be comedians and make jokes that have become too dangerous in recent years. So I think hopefully they can find how to translate that to cinematic, narrative storytelling as opposed to just straight up stand up. Because those guys are making me laugh quite a bit because they're telling jokes that used to be taboo and they shouldn't be taboo because, as Jim has brought up before, it's comedy and you either make fun of everybody or you make fun of nobody.
Yeah. I think those comedians are really where things started to change with the culture, because for a long time it was just, here's the list of approved things you can make jokes about, and here's the way you can joke about them, and nobody is allowed to do anything else. And that filtered into movies and TV and so many things, but they tried to do it with stand-up comedy and it didn't work because people don't want to see that. They want to see just whatever they want to see real comedy. They want to see whatever's coming out of the comedian's soul. And so they tried to put all these shackles on stand-up comedy, but they ran right into a wall with people like Dave Chappelle, Ricky Gervais, Joe Rogan, all these guys that just, they don't care. They have a following and they can just tell whatever jokes they want, and it worked, and they couldn't quiet them. So I think at some point it was just a wake up call that, we can't just keep controlling comedy. We have to start letting it back out of the cage a little bit. And so that's when you started to see these comedies start to get made again.
And Cathy, you talked a little bit earlier about working with Leslie Nielsen, and what do you think his opinion would be of the new Naked Gun?
I don't know. I mean, I think, he was a very supportive guy of other actors and artists. I think he would be a class act about it, but I think he would know that it wasn't the most brilliant comedy he had ever seen. I mean, like I said, I've been in acting a long time, and there's a real art and timing to comedy, and how you set up jokes and how you hit punchlines. And, I watched him work on camera, and he was brilliant at it. And I just, I think that was missing in this movie for me. Maybe it isn't for other people. Maybe I'm going to be wrong, and maybe this movie's going to kick ass and people are going to love it. But again, tastes have changed. Times have changed. So it'll be interesting. Maybe people these days think it is really funny. But I think Leslie Nielsen, I don't know. It's like David Zucker. Is it David Zucker that did the interview that had?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think he knew that this was going to miss the mark. And he even said Liam Neeson, he didn't think was the right casting. He's changing his tune now. I don't think he's changing his tune because he doesn't still believe those things. I think he's changing his tune probably for other reasons. But I think he saw it, and I think he knew it. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see once people start talking about the film. It'll be interesting to see, because it did fairly decent, right, on its opening weekend. Not brilliant.
It's getting the tomato meter is I think it's 91%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Word of mouth is going to obviously push this along, because it's still going up.
Right. It's either going to push it along, or it's going to be, people are going to say, it was okay. So it'll be interesting to see what the
like so many comedies, just wait until it comes out on streaming, because you don't necessarily need to see this on the big screen.
But I'll be curious. A lot of times a film does well in its opening weekend just because people are curious. It's whether it can sustain it. It's what are the people that are going, not the critics, but the people that are paying the ticket price and going to the theater. Are they going to recommend it to people? Or are they going to say, man, this was freaking a hilarious film? Or are they going to say, don't waste your money, wait for it to come out on video or streaming, like you said? That'll be what I think is interesting to see, is if these numbers are going to hold up. What was your favorite laugh out loud moment of this movie? Like, what did you think really hit your funny bone?
Well, it's over I brought up earlier, I'm a huge Weird Al guy. So the fact that they involved him, and folks, I will say this, make sure, whether you like the movie or don't, I would say make sure you stay until all the credits are done. Because that you'll see some things in the credits. Like there was a great, just keep your eyes open for some cool jokes. And at the very end, let's just say there's accordion.
That was the one moment I thought was a highlight for me.
And it took us an hour and 26 minutes to get there.
Right. Out of the few highlights for me, that was probably the main one.
I liked the coffee joke. At first I thought, okay, this is going to get, just a little too much of the overdoing a bit. But then they let it go long enough, and then they brought it back. Okay, that it was cute this time. All right, but again, you two have talked me down from a B+ to a B-.
I don't want to influence your opinion.
No, but I still like it.
I'm the lone wolf here. I'm the. There's always got to be one of them.
No, we like this is good, but it's ironic that Marty's not here, because Marty is usually the one clamoring for a little friction in opinion.
I wish I could. I would love to know what Marty thinks.
Well, he was too busy with family time to see to see it this weekend, but he will. He said he is going to get around to see it in the next couple of days. So that's one thing that worked to Naked Gun's credit, and it was just a quick nod to the beaver, the stuffed beaver, a quick nod, just Priscilla Presley throwing her in there, and just quick little things. Strangely enough, they were quick with that and then beat us over the head with the jokes that could have just been about 45 to 60 seconds shorter.
Yeah. What I'd like to see, they're doing these, what I love in the theaters that they've been doing lately is they're showing old movies, like old iconic movies once a month or whatever at the theaters. Yeah. So I went and saw Jaws in the theater. I saw The Shining. I saw, they did Spaceballs, another hysterical movie. And, oh gosh, what was it? Oh, Sound of Music. And it's so fun to go see these classic movies again in the theater. And so I'd love to see them do that with the real Naked Gun. I'd rather do that than go see the new one.
Well, I think right now that you might run the risk of people realizing, oh, this is so much funnier than what's out right now.
Right.
Yeah. I saw all the Naked Gun movies in theater as a kid, and they were so funny, and it was just such a good communal experience. Everyone went and saw that. We all laughed together. We all had a great time, and yeah, absolutely. If they put those back in, I would be all over that. But
I always judge. I'm just telling you what the people in my theater, like usually when a movie's really great, people will clap at the end. Nobody clapped at this one.
Yeah.
And people didn't walk out like laughing and talking. Like it was sold out, by the way, you guys. When I went to see it, it was sold out. Every seat was filled. There was a few people up at the top that laughed out loud at a few jokes, but it wasn't the vibe of where everybody in the theater is just like cracking up and talking about it on the way out. It wasn't that at all. So I don't think I was the only one in my theater that was feeling that way. But again, I could be totally wrong. It'll be interesting to see, as the weeks go on, how well it does.
And far too many people walked out of my theater. They didn't get to see all the fun credit stuff and post credits things.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were chuckles throughout my theater. But there was never the kind of that moment where everybody just kind of joined into a big collective laugh together.
Yeah.
But which is unfortunate. I really haven't gotten to enjoy that in a movie theater for a long time.
Yeah, I think so. I think the last Bridesmaids was one of those movies. I remember seeing that and just the whole theater was just in tears. We're laughing so hard, and I can't think of anything recently that I've seen that's like that. But like you said, they're really not. It doesn't seem like they focus a lot on comedy these days.
Beetlejuice 2 was like that for me. But again, there's a reboot of something. But yeah, Beetlejuice 2. I liked Beetlejuice 2.
I didn't see it. I heard bad reviews about it, so I just didn't even bother to go.
I'm a big fan of the first one, and maybe I lowered expectations, but not, even with lowered expectations, I enjoyed the movie. I love Michael Keaton, and I think that's one of those roles that he just dug his teeth into, and the tail. And just really, I enjoyed seeing him on the screen doing that again. And Winona Ryder I thought was great as well, and Catherine O'Hara. The magic was there again. But I think it did well enough in theaters. And
so this movie did, Naked Gun reboot did get, I think it was $17 million opening weekend.
Yeah,
which is pretty good for a comedy in 2025. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. I mean, knowing Hollywood, they'll probably just try remaking all those classic comedies now and try to follow the same thing. But we'll see what happens. But I think it did well enough that I think they're going to tentatively start bringing comedies back. Hopefully they'll be good ones, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
When you disappeared, Jim, we were talking a little bit about David Zucker and how he was initially critical of the movie. Now he's kind of walking that back a little bit. And what are your thoughts on him possibly being a person who can usher this in?
I know. I think he absolutely can. I mean, obviously, it's been quite a while since he headlined a major movie, but he's based on what I heard him talking about. He said that even back in 2018, his script for the new Naked Gun got a really good reception with from the studio. He seems pretty sharp for his age. I feel like he definitely has a couple more good movies in him if everyone's willing to give him a chance.
You have to let him, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think he absolutely could be part of that. It's just it's just a question of the gatekeepers and who they want to let through the door. They've been letting less and less funny people through the door over the last 10 years, and there's not that many left. These guys, the people that made Happy Gilmore were part of the Workaholics crew, and then the people that made Naked Gun were part of the Lonely Island crew. So these are people that go back a good 20 years, 25 years in Hollywood. I'm not seeing a lot of young guns coming out making potentially good comedy. I think they're out there, and some of the movie bloggers I've been reading have been teasing, kind of predicting the comedy was going to make a comeback for the last 5-6 years or so, and it just hasn't happened. But I think the talent is out there. I think that there has to be some gatekeepers in the studios that are willing to give it a shot and put some money behind it. I think, David Zucker, they could absolutely come back. A lot of these guys that made good movies 10, 20 years ago can absolutely come back and make some good stuff. I think it's gonna be a while before Hollywood finds its rhythm with comedies again. The stuff that comes out, even the stuff on streaming is okay, but it just doesn't have the same oomph behind it as far as just being able to generate laughs that it had 10 years ago. But again, you can see moments of brilliance in some of the kind of comedy hybrids we've had, like the Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out a few years ago. That was laugh out loud funny. It was really, really funny in a lot of places.
Oh, well, you just reminded me, the movie that I did see recently that I thought was really surprisingly good was the Minecraft movie with Jack Black. I loved it. I loved it.
I didn't laugh at that at all.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Oh,
we had.
I'm not the demographic, so I didn't see it. I just had being an umpire. I heard a lot of kids yelling. What was it?
Thing. Yeah,
chicken jockey.
I don't know hardly anything about Minecraft, but my daughter was into it when she was younger. But I went in expecting it to just be horrible. And John and I went, and we both really liked it. It was goofy, but it was fun. We just in that theater, everybody was laughing, like everybody had a good time at that. So, Jim, you and I are just completely opposite on these things.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm a huge Minecraft player, but I was not a big fan of that movie. Just maybe Jack Black really rubs me the wrong way these days.
Oh, really?
He does not make me laugh, but. Jason Momoa was funny in it. Some of the background stuff was good. And that was made by some really funny people, the people that made Napoleon Dynamite. So, and that's a perfect example that there's the talent is out there.
Yeah.
They need to be given a chance to shine. And I think comedy can come back really quick. Hollywood just needs to put its money where its mouth is.
And I'm glad you brought up Spaceballs, Cathy, because the initial trailers for Spaceballs 2, or whatever they're calling the sequel, looked good. But then again, the trailers for History of the World Part 2 looked good. Right. And I worry, I'm pretty
made by the same people.
I know it's the same people. So it's like, it can work, but can Josh Gad, who was part of the creative team behind History of the World Part 2, is helming Spaceballs 2. And are we going to come across the same thing? I fear that we'll come across the same thing, because it's a younger generation that just, I don't want to say doesn't get comedy, but they don't. It's a different kind of comedy. It's like the Idiocracy version, where you just beat people over the head with a joke that's not funny.
Well, again,
Echo chamber.
And again, why not just come out with something complete? Like, instead of trying to do the sequel to something that you know, or redo something, why not just learn from that what works and just come up with something completely new and different, something that's going to, you know, I think the problem is when you're trying to just either remake something, you're always going to get the comparison, or if you're trying to do a sequel, it's not, they're almost never as good as the original. And why try to do that? Why not just come up with the next, you know, Young Frankenstein, where it's something just so unexpected, so original, where you do something so different that everybody's just like, oh my God, this is brilliant. Come up with something different and new.
Well, you can't spoof something new because no one's making anything new.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's what people need to focus on. I mean, you know, see, that's for me why I give Minecraft props, is because I was not expecting anything, because I thought, well, this is just dumb. But it's totally unlike, you know, it's completely original. It's totally unlike anything. It was its own thing. And I thought it was funny. But I don't know. I'm not a fan of all these remakes and sequels. And the only one that I'll say I did think was well done, and it's not comedy, was Wicked. I thought that was well done.
Did not see that one, but it's on.
Yeah, me neither.
It's for free now, so maybe I need to.
You know what's funny? John went with me to that, and he actually loved it. And you wouldn't think a guy would, but it was pretty well done, and the, you know, obviously you have to like that kind of movie, a musical.
Well, to what you said though, I recently saw, in the last couple of years, 2-3 years, to see The Wizard of Oz on the big screen for the first time in my life.
Oh, for the first time in your life, yeah.
I mean, because it was the annual TV event, and then I've seen it several times, you know, on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever. But to see that, or to see Dracula, or to, all those classics that you mentioned, and you know, those are becoming the events now that people go see. Right. Those are the ones that get people in the seats.
But see, that's something to think about, like, the really brilliantly written and acted movies that are just iconic, that had that movie magic. They stand the test of time, and people are hungry for those, so they're replaying them, and they're, you know, selling out theaters, going to see these iconic classics. That's the kind of movie you need to be making. Is this new Naked Gun going to be one of those movies that 25 years from now people are going to be still talking about? No. That's what Hollywood needs to try and figure out, is what's going to be the next movie that is going to last 50 years, where people are going to still want to go see it because they're still talking about it.
I think I found it. And I let's use this to close the show. Let's wrap, and let's bring David Zucker back to do Hot Shots Part 2 and going after Top Gun Maverick.
I would like that.
Can we find it? Who would like to see that? Raise your hand. Okay.
Right here.
We're going out on a positive
I like
note.
it.
David Zucker, we're going to throw that script idea in the air your way, putting out into the universe, and that's where we're going to go. So, folks, I once again want to thank Cathy Rankin. Cathy, they can find you at CathyRankin.com, correct?
It's CathyRankin.com, or at Rush Fanatic on Instagram,
Facebook. Make sure you check her out there. Know when the superhero band is playing. Definitely check that out.
Go see the new Spinal Tap, though. We'll have to talk about that one after.
Oh, well, yeah. You were talking to a bunch of Spinal Tap nerds, without a doubt.
I'm hoping maybe that'll be the one that I say, wow, they really did this one. I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, very quickly, because they released Elton John's version of Stonehenge this week. It's out on. They have a video for it. It's on. It's been really the soundtrack is being released via the streamers. I heard on Spotify, and I'm like, what's this? This is rubbish. So I hope it's better.
Get the dimensions right.
I hate saying that about Elton John, but yeah, but
didn't like it.
I did not like it. It felt a little bit forced, and it's like, but I'm looking forward to seeing Paul McCartney in the movie. I'm still looking forward to seeing Elton John in the movie. But this is my favorite comedy of all time.
Yeah.
So they've really, the things they've done since, like the Back from the Dead, and they're just trying to find that magic again, and they haven't done it yet. So maybe 41 years later we can find it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But again, I will go in with lowest expectations, and maybe I'll be wowed.
Yeah.
Because the original, I still watch the original at least twice a year. I love it that much.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, great movie. For sure.
Well, folks, you get Naked Gun. We have one vote. Hell no. 2 thumbs down. We have one that started with a thumb and a half up, and now I'm pretty much at a half. I'm still giving it a B, solid B minus. Check it out, but here, see it in a matinee. Go in with low expectations, and then when you're done, go back and watch the original Police Squad TV shows if you can find those on DVD somewhere, or on Paramount. They've got all 3 of the original Top Guns. But make sure you check it out. And we'll be back real soon with Marty and Jim and Cathy here on All Over the Place. Thanks for watching and/or listening, folks.
Bye-bye.
All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.